Hello and welcome to the African News on Voice of the People, inclusive vision for the future of Ghana. Meanwhile, the former First Lady of Ghana, Lord Dina Dramani Mahama, has promised women in small enterprises access to affordable funding under the Mahama's administration. During a campaign visit to K2 North in the Volta region, she emphasized initiatives like the Women's Development Bank and the National Apprenticeship Program, aiming to support women and youth. Meeting with chiefs and queen mothers, Mrs. Mahama sought their backing for NDC presidential candidate John Mahama and parliamentary candidate Idem Agbana. She assured constituents that their loyalty to the NDC would lead to vital development projects. After the Afife Health Center, Mrs. Mahama donated medical equipment to enhance medical services, which was warmly received by medical director Dr. Samson Morty. Mr. Agbana also thanked her and assured constituents of revitalized healthcare resources under a future Mahama administration. Well, still in Ghana, the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, that's CDD Ghana, has called on all members of parliament, political parties, the executive, and the media to exercise restraint and respect the constitutional principles underpinning Ghana's democracy. CDD Ghana urged stakeholders to prioritize peace and stability to prevent a reoccurrence of disturbances like those witnessed during the Speaker's election on January the 7th, 2021, encouraging the Speaker and Parliament to comply with the Supreme Court's directive to de-escalate current tensions and uphold the rule of law. The statement highlights the importance of timely filing of legal documents to ensure swift resolution to ongoing cases and noted that the Speaker and Parliament could seek a review of the court's decision if necessary. Acknowledging diverse options on the Speaker's action and the Supreme Court's intervention, CDD Ghana described the situation as a challenge to Ghana's constitutional practice, requiring careful handling to avoid political turmoil ahead of the 2024 general elections. The organization emphasized the need for remedies for affected individuals and parties without causing legal or political uncertainty. It also called for the quick resolution of outstanding cases and seek to disqualify candidates from the upcoming elections to ensure fairness in the electoral process. Well, joining us now to make sense of these stories is Barrister Darlington Agumo, Voice of the People's in-house analyst and, of course, a lawyer by profession. Barrister, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, David, and how are you?
I'm fine, very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
All right, let's get to it almost immediately. Ghana's election, again, is in the front burner, and a lot of the players are making statements. One that is of significance is the vice president, who is under the ruling party as a flag bearer in the forthcoming December 7th general elections in Ghana. He's come out to say that the community and, of course, the challenges that were faced before the administration of Kufuor, the president, has relatively been solved, but a continuity of him being in power, if elected, would be another plus for the Ghanaians. Do you think this looks like a major political statement, of course, knowing that campaigning proper has started in Ghana?
Yeah, what you said is what you're supposed to do. All politicians do it. I mean, they always tell you continuity. It is left for the people to decide whether they want you to continue.
Okay.
Yes, you will not come and say continuity for continuity's sake. The thing is, what are the benefits? You know, what are the, but if you ask me, Ado has, give and take, he has tried. For him to be supporting his vice to continue where he stopped, I think he makes some reasonable sense. But then, it is left for the people of Ghana.
Now,
That's
government.
why they said that change is a constant thing.
Very true. Very true. Government is a continuum. You would agree with me on that. As it stands, the Akufo-Addo administration is boasting of infrastructures like a stadium, a district police command, and Agenda 111 hospitals. Of course, he also did brag of portable drinking water, a youth resource center. So all of these achievements by the Nana Akufo-Addo administration is what the likes of Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia wants to continue. Do you think at this point the people would look at it from that perspective and want to give him a vote of confidence by electing him into office?
No, what the people should be looking at is how much did they uphold the rule of law in Ghana, and then two, what is their what is it called now? What is the economic lifestyle? How is the
Economic indices and growth?
living standard of Ghanaians? How is it? Because governance is all about the people.
But
if you are not impacting on the life of the people, then whatever you are saying is it doesn't hold water. It is the people that voted you in.
Okay.
Their interest should come first. If your government is not impacting on the people, if you like, build the skyscraper from the beginning of the country to the end of it, and the people are not having a better living standard, then you have done nothing. It's as simple as that.
Now, it's interesting to know that inflation is at a rise even in Ghana as well. I mean, inflation is something globally. IMF also have projected the level of inflation that would happen in some continents. And of course, Africa was not exempted. Now, Dr. Bawumia, by profession, yes, is a doctor, and he's, according to reports, his impact is visibly the reason why the Agenda 111 hospitals were brought into book, and of course, they achieved it. So if we're going to look at that space, is that a good enough reason to want to have him in power come the elections in December? Or is there any other thing, like we have just outlined, inflation is also at a rise, even though the Ghanaian currency, the Ghanaian cedis seem to be a bit higher when it comes to strength in African currencies. Nigeria is about the lowest from our records. But then, is any of these indices a clear factor that Dr. Bawumia might get the nod with the Ghanaians?
Yeah, if they have fulfilled if they have fulfilled most of their electoral promises, it can give them an edge. Yes, they can campaign with it. Just like the 100 hospital is in the air now in Ghana.
Yes.
So if they look at it, they'll say yes, because that is a major achievement. You know. But then there are things to be done. The question is there the political will to do it? You know, the economy, how have they managed it? It's not enough to say that you have done this or that. The question is, based on the income you had, based on the level of what's it called now, inflow you had from receivables. The things you did, is it commensurable? Then look at the debt profile. Is Ghana borrowing more than it can pay? So some of these things may count. It depends on Ghanaian people to now juxtapose, because I'm not living in Ghana, but we can say for sure that the living standard of Ghanaians is a bit okay.
Relatively fair.
Yeah, relatively fair, yeah, unlike what Nigeria is going through. If you compare Nigeria and Ghana today, I think people will choose Ghana.
But contrary to all of this, the wife of the former First Lady of Ghana, I'm talking about Lordina Dramani Mahama, had said that this government is not having an inclusive government when it comes to women and the youth, which of course she also was campaigning for her husband somewhere around K2 North in the Volta region. She said that the government of her husband, if elected into office, would be aiming to support women and even youth, which of course will bring about the Women's Development Bank that the John Dramani campaign is big on. In the exception of women and youth inclusiveness, do you think this might pose a problem for the ruling party and give an edge to the opposition party, that's the NDC?
When Mahama was there before, was this women inclusiveness involved in their programs? Was it? You and I know it wasn't. So why are they using it as a campaign object now? He had been there before, was he not? So if you have been there, is it not that you remember some of these things? Anyway, it is campaign period.
Definitely.
Anything can come to the table.
Definitely.
So the question is, if she's campaigning for women inclusiveness,
yes.
The previous government, which her husband was part of, did he include women? Did he?
Now, some quarters have said that this seemed to be, yes, like a political statement. And of course, trying to play it back to Nigeria, where the president in power in Nigeria, the wife also has said that the husband is big on having women in office. Political statements fly when it comes to campaign, but the reality seems to be a major concern. But do you think that the fact that women are being cajoled at this point, and even youths, to want to get into campaign promises, is this going to hold any water?
You see, most of these campaign promises and all that,
yes,
is because of the level of literacy and illiteracy in Africa. Because in a senile climb, in advanced Western world, some of these things, you can't even say it. I'm telling you, you can't, because it's a giving. You cannot use such a thing to campaign because it is already there. You know, it's part of the lifestyle of the people. Women have a very, commendable inclusivity in government in the Western world. Right. Their rights are guaranteed. Okay. You know, everything that has to do with women, they take it serious. That's why you as a husband, you cannot even beat your wife and get away with it in the Western world. But here, nobody bothers. You can see. So that part of respecting the woman right. So when somebody is campaigning with it in Ghana, it shows you the level of development that we have in Africa. You know, the level of backwardness, so to say. We are not there yet, but we pray that with time things will improve, so that some of these, elementary issues will not be talked about during the election. You win here, we are going to construct road for you. We are going to give you pipe bomb. Can you imagine somebody campaigning in America and say, you see, I discovered that if you don't have pipe bomb water, I'm going to provide it. They will not clap. Yay! I mean, isn't that very, very primitive? That will tell you where we are. You can't campaign with such a thing in the US or UK. It cannot even come up. So when they are doing some of these things, it shows you the level of development we have in Africa. And then the people, the very gullible people, they are the ones they gather during this campaign, who will come and be cheerleaders, who will clap for them and all that. So...
So Barrister, at this point, when you say the level of literacy of Africans is the reason why some of these political elites would want to use these kind of statements to campaign. Don't you also think that the populists also are a victim of these, and of course they caused it by themselves when they carefully are towing the ethnic divide and religious divide? When can we get it right in Africa?
They are doing it because the people are more majorly illiterate. Abi? That's the reason. And they're doing it because their leader kept them down. We have a very good example in our Nigeria, northern Nigeria, where their leaders there, even though they have been in power more than any other region in Nigeria. But look at the level of education, illiteracy, economic and all that.
Okay, now, Barrister.
The leader deliberately kept them now so that during this election they can use them. It's as simple as that.
What is the place of the parliament? Because Ghana also have the same. What's the place of the parliament when the presidency is not doing what the law states? Now, let's bring it back to Nigeria. One of the primary, in fact, I dare say the most important duty of a president of a nation like Nigeria is that he should be able, as a commander-in-chief, protect life and properties of the citizens. We've had insurgencies at the highest in this country, and it's still ongoing. And yet, the parliament seems mum on all of these issues. I mean, the security chiefs of the president at this point have not been changed, and we still keep having this high-level insecurity. What's the role of the parliament in all of this?
The parliament are equally complicit in bad leadership in any country. If you don't have a vibrant parliament, the executive can do whatever they like. Again, it can only happen in Africa. In the Western world, the president of any Western nation or prime minister fear the parliament the same way they fear God. I'm telling you. You saw how they summoned a former UK prime minister.
Yes.
For committing COVID-19 infraction. I'm talking of Boris Johnson.
Yes.
Even with his pleading and all that, they say he must go. But here, I mean, I can't imagine any president being impeached because of some of those things. So we are still growing. We call it we call it a developing economy, or
yes.
You know. But the leaders know better. That is my worry here. They know better. They travel outside. They meet their counterparts in the Western world.
Is it about knowing better or having the political will to do better?
No, the thing is that I want to give you an example.
Yes, please.
When Awolowo was, giving the people of the Western region free education, and then during one of his campaign, he went to the north and was telling the Saduna of, Sokoto to give the same free education to his people. The man looked at him and said, "Look, Awolowo, keep your education to yourself. Oh. If we educate all these people now, who will serve our children?" So with that kind of mentality, you can see some of these things are deliberate. But when they are doing it, the people they are doing it to, they will not even know that they are being used. That's the issue here. They will come out and tell you that they mean well for you. They are going to give you better life. Yeah, but all these speeches, and you'll be clapping. That is where it ended, though. But they will not do anything for you.
Barrister, before I let you go, one final question in 30 seconds. The Ghana Center for Democratic Development has called on members of parliament, political parties, and of course the executive and the media to exercise restraint and respect for the constitutional principles underpinning Ghana's democracy. Going into this election, this Center for Democratic Development's call, do you think it's a welcome development that would help the political parties and, of course, the players act right going into the elections?
Yes. If you ask me, the Ghanaian politicians, they have been very, very level-headed, especially during campaign and during the voting proper. You hardly hear this type of brigandage and violence you see in Nigeria, in Ghana. You hardly.
Okay.
Ghanaian people, they have learned to be very civil during election proper.
All right.
They are not like Nigerians. And that's because their politicians have educated them to be peaceful, to be, patriotic, to shun violence and all that. You don't see a politician arming some Ghanaian youth to be shooting opponents or carrying buses and all.
This thing you mentioned, Barrister,
yes.
Is it as a matter of population that is making such happen in Nigeria?
No, it's not. No, it's not population. No, okay. It's not population. That's what I'm telling you. It's not, you have a very bad leaders in Nigeria. Right. People who are supposed to be showing examples, they will not. So if it is all about population, then it would have been. You would have seen it all over the place. It's just that political education is too high in Ghana.
Okay.
And they don't have the kind of leaders we have here.
All right.
Seriously, they don't.
Thank you so very much, Barrister, for being here. We've been talking with Barrister Darlington Agumo, Voice of the People TV's political analyst, and of course, in-house analyst, and yes, a barrister by law. Once again, we appreciate you, barrister, for being here.
Thank you, David.
You're still watching the African News on Voice of the People TV. We'll go on a very quick short break. When we return, the rest of the news will continue shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. Niger's state-owned electricity company is seeking consultants to conduct feasibility, environmental, and social impact studies for a 60 megawatt solar plus storage project in the town of Tahua, located in western Niger. The project is part of the country's efforts to boost its renewable energy capacity, and expressions of interest are due by December the 2nd, 2024. This initiative will be financed by the African Development Bank, with the studies expected to be completed within 15 months. The solar plant is a key step in Niger's ongoing expansion of its solar power infrastructure, which saw a significant boost in 2023 with the commissioning of a 30 megawatt solar plant. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency, Niger's total solar capacity reached 92 megawatts by the end of 2023, marking steady growth from 62 megawatts the previous year. The new project in Tahua aims to further enhance the nation's renewable energy capabilities. And from Niger, we'll go to Kenya, where Kenya's impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has voiced serious concerns for his safety after his security detail was withdrawn. Speaking to reporters, Gachagua stated that if anything were to happen to him, President William Ruto should be held accountable. His warning comes amid rising political tensions following his impeachment. Gachagua emphasized that the removal of his security team has left him vulnerable, escalating fears about his personal safety. The deputy president's remarks have raised questions about political motives and the potentials for further instability in Kenya's political landscape. The situation remains tense as Gachagua awaits further development, with many closely watching how President Ruto and other political figures will respond to these allegations. And in Sudan, Sudan's Finance Minister, Gabriel Ibrahim, leader of the Justice and Equality Movement, JEM, has set conditions for extending the Andre border crossing with Chad for humanitarian aid. Ibrahim's demand includes the presence of Sudanese customs and intelligence officials on both sides of the border, supported by international protection forces, as well as X-ray scanners to verify cargo. This follows his recent call to close the crossing, which he claims is used by the Rapid Support Forces for supplies. The Sovereign Council opened the Andre crossing on August the 15th for 3 months to facilitate humanitarian aid into Darfur. Since then, over 200 trucks carrying aid for 615,000 persons have crossed. The crossing, located in West Darfur, has been under RSF control since November 2023, with allegations that the RSF uses it to import weapons. International bodies, including the UN and African Union, have urged Sudan to keep the crossing permanently open and to allow aid flights to use Kadugli Airport to transport aid from South Sudan to other countries. Meanwhile, a historic decision was made to allocate $100 million for climate-resilient agriculture in Somalia, where in an unprecedented move, the Green Climate Fund, that's GCF board, approved what is described as one of the fastest single-country projects in the fund's history. Meanwhile, the initiative aims to bolster Somalia's capacity to adapt to the adverse effects of climate change through sustainable farming practices. The project's rapid approval highlights the urgency of addressing climate's impact in vulnerable nations like Somalia, where agriculture is not only a livelihood but a cornerstone of national stability. This investment is poised to enhance food security, improve water management, and promote resilient agriculture techniques across the country. A prominent figure in climate finance, Khadija Mohammed Al Makzoumi, expressed her delight as she attends the 40th board meeting of the Green Climate Fund, that's the GCF. The approval of the GCF meeting held in Sondo underscores the global commitment to aiding countries on the front lines of climate change, with Somalia now set to benefit from innovative approaches to ensure its agricultural sector can withstand future climate changes. A businessman, Louis Liebenberg, was a ninth suspect of the diamond Ponzi scam to be arrested in connection with the alleged crime. Liebenberg and his wife, Denzi, were arrested on Tuesday night at popular Benoni Guateng Eatery Taninos in Johannesburg, South Africa. Meanwhile, the country's anti-graft agency, Hawks spokesperson Colonel Katlego Mogale, said that a prosecution-guided operation led by Northern Cape Hawks confirmed the ninth arrest, adding that the syndicate is alleged to be involved in dealing with unpolished diamonds and fraud. The mastermind and leader allegedly advertised unpolished diamonds on social media and invited potential investors to invest in his diamond dealing business with a promise of a lucrative return, which never materialized. Investors were allegedly scammed of more than 4 billion South African rand since 2019. The suspects are expected to appear in the Brockhansproot Magistrates Court on Thursday on charges of fraud, money laundering, theft, and racketeering. Now, still in South Africa, in a significant development for South Africa's economy, inflation has dropped to its lowest level in 3.5 years, with the annual rate falling to 3.8% in September 2024. This marks the fourth consecutive month of decline, driven largely by easing transport costs, including a 9% drop in fuel prices compared to last year. Stats SA reports that this is the lowest inflation rate since March 2021, when it was 3.8%. The deep in inflation comes as transport enters deflationary territory for the first time in over a year. Fuel prices are now at their lowest since February 2023, while price increases for vehicles have slowed. However, the annual inflation rate for food and non-alcoholic beverages remains steady at 4.7%, with hot beverages continuing to see the highest price increases at 15.8%. Despite this improvement, economists warn of potential risk ahead, with rising international fuel and food prices possibly putting pressure on inflation in the coming months. For now, South Africans are enjoying some relief from the cost of living as transport costs ease across the country. And from South Africa, we'll go to Mozambique, where a charismatic Mozambican opposition leader, Venancio Mondlane, on Tuesday delivered a fiery speech that has set his nation on a knife's edge during the funeral of his lawyer, who was murdered last week by unidentified gunmen. According to Venancio Mondlane, while addressing over 850,000 viewers on his Facebook page, he said this is an opportunity and a climate of a revolutionary atmosphere surrounding Mozambique. He noted that when the revolutionary atmosphere is present, it means the country also needs a revolutionary leadership. His talk of revolution building in a country where one party has ruled for almost half a century carries the risk of arrest or worse. However, citizens had already heeded Mondlane's call for demonstration on Monday with rocks, burning tires, and tear gas canisters threw across Maputo's streets. Armored personnel carriers roared through the city's poor areas while a police helicopter circled above. Mondlane said authorities used live ammunition against citizens, claim the government has denied. You're still watching the African News on Voice of the People TV. More stories and business and sports after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now to some business stories. Grid Africa has partnered with Huawei to implement a 72 megawatt solar project addressing Zimbabwe's mining sector's power challenges. The project aims to boost energy efficiency, reduce reliance on the national grid, and lower operational costs for mining companies. The mining industry, a major economic contributor, faces increasing power demand expected to reach 700 megawatts by 2025. This initiative will support sustainable growth, create jobs, and help secure a steady power supply for Zimbabwe's vital mining sector. Still talking business, Ethiopia's central bank will keep its 15% interest rate unchanged for the rest of the year to address inflation driven by recent foreign exchange reforms. Governor Mamo Emeritu confirmed that the tight monetary stance will persist with inflation expected to stabilize below 10% by 2025. This measure, part of the nation's most extensive economic reforms in decades, have already boosted productivity and foreign reserves, but the government's plan to phase out subsidies on essentials as the economy adjusts. And from business to some sports stories, the Confederation of African Football faces a critical moment as Arab nations consider withdrawing support for its president due to its impending decision on the Super Eagles versus Libya match. The controversy surrounding Libya's treatment of Nigeria's national football team has sparked outrage. The Super Eagles were left stranded at a Libya airport for hours without assistance, prompting a formal complaint from the Nigerian Football Federation to CAF. The federation seeks punitive action against Libya, including awarding 3 points and 3 goals to Nigeria. CAF President Patrice Motsepe has vowed to take decisive action against those who violated CAF rules. However, Arab nations' potential withdrawal of support may influence the outcome. Meanwhile, the Union of North African Football, that's the UNAF, which includes Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, and Morocco, have resolved not to back incumbent president of CAF, Patrick Motsepe, for a second term. They have made it known that they have had a favorite already, and that's why they won't be backing the South African for another term in office. The duo of Egypt's Hani Ado Rida and Fawzi Lija from Morocco are being considered and discussed as possible alternatives for Patrice Motsepe. And with that, we've come to the end of the African News on Voice of the People TV. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being here. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.